So when do you do when do the guys do most of the training? What's your sort of week look like?
Well, we get like an hour and 45-minute lunch break. So by the time they get out of class, they run. And I think one of the key things for us is being on site. You know, like we can run through what makes St Paul's successful, but if I took that exact model and dumped it on another school, it might not work. It's just adapting and being flexible to the environment you have. And
what does that mean you can do being on site then?
It means you can have access to the water really quickly, or so we have a lunch break, which is about an hour and 40 minutes. It means we get about an hour of proper training time. But to make sure and that's one of the things that when I go back to
row at the lunch breaks.
We row, we erg, mostly. So most out of the 5 a week, I think 4. Well, we have a games afternoon, but out of the 4 a week, I think 3 are on the water and 2 are on the ergo. Sorry, 2 are on the water and 2 are on the ergo. But it's just, I think when I was first there, the boys would just drift down, and it was really disorganised, and they had a culture where they just went out and we rode like 6k in an hour, and it's just and it was a slight barrier to sort of getting the most out of what you could do in that hour. So I think with time we just tried to nail down like boys taking responsibility for themselves and sort of having the discipline to be able to make sure everything was pre-organised so they could get down and get out. And we would try and sort of when we're in the first day we could do 14k in an hour, like compared to like in the early days we'd go out and do 8. So we sort of look at it and just say, look, we've got this window. Regardless of whether it's lunchtime or after school, we need to make sure we're efficient and we use the most of that window.
Did you start off by doing that when you rocked up, or was that?
It was a bit of a slow burner because you learn to sort of like get feelings for what's going on around you. You learn the structure of the school, how it works, how to best. So I think within the first year, yes, it did make a change, and it was that first year was a learning curve, but it also there was an improvement in performance. Like from one, I think the first 2 things that I tried to do in that first year was use the time more effectively, and then try and implement and change the way we rowed. So St Paul's didn't make a Championship 8 final for 7 years, and in that first year we did for the first time. Yeah. And yes, I sort of broke the rules a little bit to do it, but like it used to be a thing at Nat schools where you did a heat and then you had a rep.
Yeah.
And we didn't try very hard in the heat and then went for the rep. And people thought it might be unsporting, but I was thinking well, 1, this is my job and I'm judged on this, and 2, this school hasn't been in a final for a long time. It's got a culture of not being very successful. Yeah. So we've got to do something to start changing that.
Yeah.
So making a Championship 8 final in the first year was quite a big leap forward.
I know I'm slightly jumping now a little bit, but just something you said made me think that you there and other guys like Smithy and other you're what I call streetwise. From the clubs, you know about rowing, you know about stuff like, okay, you're going to go, the heat's not so important, you're going to go hard and rep.
Yeah.
How much of your success has been down to being streetwise with kind of posh kids?
Yeah, I mean, I think I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I sort of look at it as just using common sense, really. Just looking where you want to get to, and then trying to find the right path that's going to get you there in the best shape.
You made because you've gathered people around you who are kind of a little bit like-minded souls, or you've got quite a lot of similar thinking in the programme. I know Smithy's gone to Hollis now, but
but I think that's one of the other things that is like another layer into how the club is
set up,
is developed and got better. Is if I was there on my own, it wouldn't happen. It wouldn't work. I think what we do have is a coaching team that communicates well together and is on the same page and works well together. And Smithy was one of those guys. We talk a lot, we communicate a lot, we sort of discuss, what we're looking for as a club, the sort of culture we want to implement, the way we want to row, and it's sort of just filtered down. The same model is filtered down through through the year groups. And one of the guys is, I don't know if people know Doug Perham. Like he was under 23 lightweight and rode in Goldie. I can't remember what year he rode in Goldie, but so he's head of languages at St Paul's, and he coaches our 14s. And I'm extremely lucky that he does that role because he does it extremely well, and he sort of gets we don't have huge amount of J14s compared to like the likes of Hampton or whatever. We get about 40 kids, 45 kids. You hear some schools it's just through the roof in the amount of J14s they have, but he's so well organised in what he does, and he's very patient and very good, and he sort of he just starts passing up boys to like the under 15 coach who basically are starting to buy into like rowing and enjoy rowing, and it sort of develops there. So we've had 9 world champions over the last 2 years, and apart from Calvin Tarzi, Doug's taught all of them how to row.
Yeah.
So there are so many different layers, and your coaching team and how you communicate and work together is a really important one.
What have you done that's affected retention of talent? Because I guess most schools will have a dropout rate of kids.
Yeah, and we have the same. We have the same. It's just I think we don't have a huge amount of drop from 14 to 15. We'll have like 4 octos at 14, 3 8s at 15, and then the biggest, the year group I think is like the one that's affected the most is the J16s. I think that's a year where people sort of go away. But I think once they're in senior, they're there because they've gone through like 4 years of the program. So when they're generally senior, we rarely get guys give up at senior. But at 16 is a critical year, and that's why we have guys like Smithy, who is a personality, like a warm guy, like considerate guy, friendly guy, and the kids want to row for him. And I think that's one of the things we've touched on it before is that is the way we treat the boys. We instill quite there is a sort of hard work culture. Yeah. But we treat the boys with respect, and we treat them on the same like a personal level, rather than sort of like teacher-student relationship.
How does that work, like in a school environment? Because I know, like coming from Hampton, how do you make that work?
I think it's hard to put your finger on it, but I mean they call me by my first name. They don't call me sir, and I think it's because you do spend so much time with them that there is that sort of like more of a personal relationship than there is with, say, a teacher. But
you've got professional rowing coaches apart from Doug Perry, the guys that coach the squad.
We've got a professional rowing coach that runs every year group. Apart from Doug, who runs the 14s. Apart from that, we have Abby Johnson, who's an ex-LEH girl at Newcastle University. She runs our 15s, and Smithy's moved on to LEH now. So we have Sam LePage, who's an ex-Shrewsbury guy who rowed at Washington University. He's replaced Smithy. And like it's hard to find good people. So we go through an interview process, and Sam's the guy I sort of thought was the most personable, and I think that's like, I think it's quite key that you don't, there's a clear line. I don't try and be the boy's friend, but I think I treat them with respect, and they trust me, and therefore they're willing to sort of put the time in to be able to achieve what they achieve.
It strikes me, I mean, knowing you a bit at Latham and St Paul's, I use this word advisory, the boys do love you in as much as they love working with you.
Yeah.
And that must be, I guess, a thing in terms of retention.
Yeah.
And then, something else that, we talked about, which really struck me, was that there were only a certain number of boys in your first day who you said were on board until maybe like last year. Maybe you could talk through that a little bit, because that's taken you time.
Yeah, I mean, I think because we won the PE in 2015, and I mean, when you sort of go back to like the structure of the school day, we had one key session a day, which was in the lunchtime, and if you weren't really on top of what you were doing, I was always coming away feeling that we haven't really done enough. Like this this is like, we're not going to sort of have the endurance base or volume to be able to achieve what we want to achieve. So I just started putting in like voluntary extra UT2 sessions, like around like the week. So I did 3 extra ergo sessions a week, all UT2. I would be insistent that they wore like heart rate monitors, and I would monitor their output in terms of split, just so I could track what they were doing, more so to make sure they're not working too hard. And I chucked those in, and it's something we'll go on to later, but with the RP3, it's all done on that now. We do all our UT2 on RP3, but that's something else. But as we started doing that, there was a few key guys that really bought into it, like Arthur Doyle, Harvard 1V under 23 medalist, Dave Ambler, Harvard 1V under 23 medalist, and Freddie Davidson, under 23 medalist, stroke of the Blue Boat last year, and will probably stroke it this year. They were all in my 2015 8, and just committed to. They bought into it basically. To best use of the word, they just bought into what I was suggesting, but the others didn't.
How did that work? How did you make that? How did you run the program where you kind of had that?
Well, I mean, we had like key sessions like for the 8, which were every day, and these were like optional, like around that. And I can't make them do it. I'm not, I just like that this is what I think you need to do to achieve this and be at this level, and have the right sort of base endurance to be able to sort of achieve what you want to achieve. And those 3 guys like bought into it, and they've obviously gone into great things. And we won in 2015 despite half the crew not buying into it. But I think what that did is like the current, or the guys who've just left, like the 2018 crew, they saw those guys as seniors when they were around the club as, I don't know, like 14, 15-year-olds. They saw like Amblers, Davidsons, Doyles, just being really disciplined in what they're doing. And then as they've gone up through the year groups, those guys have gone up to good university rowing, and the younger guys have sort of seen, well, this is what I saw what they did at school, and now this is what they're doing at university. I want to do what they're doing. Yeah. So in like 2015, 2016, we'd have 3, 4, 5 guys doing it, and then last year, like the whole first 8, and most of the second 8 would do everything every day, week in, week out, and it sort of changed like the culture of training, and that was like a slow burner. That was like a dripping. I couldn't just go in there and say like, right, everyone's doing this, because everyone would give up. Yeah. I get complaints from the school and the parents that I'm pushing them too hard.
But your parents are amazing. Now you mentioned them.
Yeah, they're really supportive. Yeah, like so many of the boys, like rowing is their life at St Paul's. Like they just get like it becomes why they go to school in a way. And their parents see that and how like positive it is on their lives, and then they're more willing to part with cash to sort of make sure that we can have the equipment that's competitive with other.
It's great to get, as you say, this multi-layered approach to what you've done.